So, halfway through my vacation in England, I started to feel a wee bit under the weather. And so I took it upon myself to head to the grocery store and get some ingredients to make myself soup. And for our ingredients, we have bok choy, carrots, celery, leeks, and potatoes, some instant vegetable ramen, juicy, delicious green onions, yellow onion, garlic, some spinach. This is a ginger and garlic paste, vegetable stock. We have our chili flakes, and finally, lemons. Surprisingly enough, all of these ingredients came out to around 13 pounds, which is roughly 16 US dollars at the time of this exchange rate. So it wasn't too bad at all. It was quite affordable, and it made around 6 to 8 servings. So I was very happy about that. You'll see at the end. Anywho, I proceeded with washing and chopping and preparing all my ingredients for cooking. And as I do this, and as you watch me do this, I am going to share a little bit about myself. So, I actually studied abroad in Brighton, England, 5 years ago. And that experience was one of the most impactful experiences in my entire life. It was a whirlwind of really intense highs and devastatingly low lows, and it just shifted things for me really, really dramatically. I was in my third year of college when I studied abroad, and the reason why I ended up in Brighton is because it was the only university where I knew that my credits would transfer. And so I didn't fully choose it, but Brighton chose me. So, anyways, I was pretty excited about the idea of it. It wasn't too intimidating because I had been to London briefly once before, so I thought that I had a feel of England. And then, in addition to that, I was just really happy that they speak English there. So I wasn't too scared. I thought it would be pretty similar to what I was used to in my life in America. But boy, did I underestimate. Did I underestimate what I was getting myself into? The answer is yes. I'll let you know that now. There are a lot of things that I did not anticipate or plan for, and I'm just going to name a couple big ones. So, one that really affected me was the lack of sunlight. I am Filipina and I was born with sunshine and heat in my veins. So when my new normal became overcast and rain and really bone-chillingly cold weather, it shook me, to be honest. Another struggle was university life. I had no idea that school in England would be so different. And the education system in England, the way that it's carried out, it felt so much harder than the stuff I was learning at my university in America. So the stress of trying to learn a whole new system of education while getting accustomed to a new country, like it was a lot added all together. I've also lived in small towns for 90% of my life, and so my main source of transportation has basically always been driving. And I have never really relied on public transportation to get me around until I got to England. And so learning that whole system of using buses and trains and walking to places, I know it sounds goofy, but it was really intimidating for me. The biggest struggle that I faced, however, was the fact that I also really disliked who I was as a person and how I was often careless with people's feelings. I thought that studying abroad would be my moment to shine, and because of this, I acted in really selfish ways sometimes. So, with all of these factors combined, it really contributed to my rapidly declining mental health. And all of this eventually led me to working with my first energy practitioner, who eventually became my mentor. And through my mentor, I learned how to hold space for my emotions, validate my feelings, work through trauma, and understand myself on a much deeper level. So there actually were a lot of positives that came from my year abroad. It was in England where I had my awakening. It was in England where I took my first steps on my new path, where I said goodbye to some aspects of myself and hello to new ones. And it was also in England where I met my boyfriend, who I continue to visit in England. So I have a lot to be grateful for. I used to think that it would be impossible to ever feel at home in England. The experiences from my past really plagued my memories of struggle and confusion and loneliness, and it just felt like I would never be able to outgrow that. Although it hasn't always been smooth sailing, I'm 5 years older and I'm choosing to rewrite the narrative. 5 years later, and I'm using an afternoon of making vegetable soup in London as a gauge for my growth. I'm happy, I'm content, and I'm still facing challenges and learning curves. However, I know that I have everything inside of me that I need to overcome them. Thank you so much for joining me for this story time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye!